My name is Daniel Dotson, and I approached the ethical issue of artificial intelligence through the stakeholder perspective of artists. We'll look at some quick pros and cons of artificial intelligence. We'll run down through some consequential ethics, Kantian and Ubuntu ethics, leading up to how artist action through unionization, as well as Aristotelian compromise, leads to an opportunity to put some guardrails in place in creative spaces in the artistic industries to protect artists from artificial intelligence. So AI, it provides a cheap and immediate way to generate content. It has access to the styles of artists from all over the world through every point in history. But despite that, it threatens jobs in creative spaces where artists thrive, and it pulls from copyrighted material without crediting those artists. And really, it's artists' work who builds the foundation of the generated artwork made by artificial intelligence. From a consequential ethical perspective, both egoism and utilitarianism can be utilized effectively. Artists can take an egoist approach, arguing that abolition of AI is better for their long-term individual interests. Obviously, it gives them more work in their creative fields. But from a utilitarian perspective, it can be argued that the amount of people employed in both film and in music and many of these creative fields, that number of people is cared for, and they're able to make their living through the fact that artists are on hand making this content. Additionally, I think it could be argued that the viewers and a wide range of viewers feel a more visceral and emotional response to media produced by artists. That ties into some Kantian and Ubuntu ethical considerations. So, from a Kantian perspective, people are an end of themselves. To replace artists, who are people, with artificial intelligence essentially argues that artists are merely tools, no different from a computer program that can be cast aside and updated conveniently without consideration of the person behind the work. Furthermore, I would argue that the Kantian recognition of people as an end also raises a consideration that art can be an end in and of itself, since art is the expression of human experience, and it carries a certain narrative quality that connects deeply with an audience. That also speaks to the Ubuntu idea, I am because we are. The Ubuntu emphasis on community and shared experience highlights the relationship between art and people. Art expresses human experience and creates bonds through barriers of culture, race, gender, religion, and so I believe that an ethical argument can certainly be made that it ought to be people who are expressing these deep experiential narratives to other people and not through artificial intelligence. And while AI may be new, the most effective tool perhaps that artists can use to help regulate it has been around for a while, and that's unions. The first trade union was established by Philadelphia shoemakers in 1794. And as time has gone on, Gallup polls show in 2022 that 71% of Americans support unions. I found it interesting that the motion picture and sound recording industries are among the private sector industries with the highest unionization rates, which shows that artists are really beginning to utilize unions and actions such as strikes and collective bargaining to advocate for their rights in creative spaces. Hollywood has seen strikes for well over 100 days, dating back into the 1960s. They have continued to occur all the way up until what we're all probably fairly familiar with was the 148-day strike just last year in 2023, when the screenwriters and the actors guilds joined together in a strike. And one of those considerations that they focused on was artificial intelligence. Now, the negotiations reached between the artists and the producers, it showed a bit of Aristotle's golden mean. Through the perception of the reality of a situation and approaching a conflict with a certain amount of moral maturity, you realize that a balance must be struck between two negotiating parties, and a balance essentially is what they reached. There was a 3-year deal that was reached through collective bargaining, through these unions, that put a series of kind of limitations, at least for a period of time, on how artificial intelligence can be utilized in the film industry. So AI cannot be credited as a writer, which protects writers who are credited. It gives them more royalty payments. AI is not permitted to write or rewrite literary material, and it also cannot be used to generate source material within the film industry. So I have a couple quotes here that really show this Aristotelian approach. For instance, Duncan Crabtree Ireland, who was a union executive, he said, we said we would only accept a fair, equitable, and respectful deal, and that's precisely what this is. So that shows a certain amount of give and take. Additionally, the quote beneath that, it says, it pretty much ensures that if you're going to use AI, it's going to be humans working alongside AI. So that leads towards a summary, which says it shows us that art expresses human experience. It creates deep bonds between artists and community. Because of those bonds, there's a certain ethic that says art and artists should be respected, not merely as tools for generation of content and profit, but for themselves. And through union actions, such as strikes and collective bargaining, artists can make strides in regulating the impact of artificial intelligence. While it cannot be totally abolished, very likely, at least artists are able to utilize union action to put some guardrails in place so that they can use AI instead of being replaced by AI. And this is my works cited page. Thank you very much.